Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm. This week, we hear from Chidera Uzo-Diribe, the outside linebackers coach for the Georgia Bulldogs, as he shares his beginnings as a young coach, his opportunity to start his career in the Power 5, and his experience coaching in the national championship game. But first, a word from CoachComm.
Deuce left, check with me. If they're in quarters match, we're going to Pittsburgh or Ohio.
They're in zero.
Let's go Hippo, Seattle, wide choice. If we call the protection right, it's 6.
When a play call is the difference between winning and losing, your headset choice could be your most important decision. When the call counts, CoachComm is the only choice for clear, dependable communication. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
We got it, guys. Good job.
Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Uzo-Diribe.
Coach, what's going on, man? How are you?
Man, I'm good, man. It's blessed to be here, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, I don't know if I've got the opportunity to do this here in a couple years, but congratulations on, I know we're looking into this next season, but congratulations on the national championship this previous year, man. What a tremendous opportunity. I can only imagine how special, especially as a young guy in the profession, to be able to have one of those big nuggets on your hands so early.
Man, it was a blessing, man. You dream of those situations and you work so hard to get to them. So to be able to see it come to fruition, it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I grew up in Cali, right? Cali native, kind of been all over the country at this point in time. Just let's take it back. When did you decide that you wanted to be in this profession? This is something that you wanted to do, with your life.
Yeah, man. It was honestly, it was kind of a shock. Coaching was never something that came to my mind. But after I finished playing at Colorado, my last year I played for Mike McIntyre. I signed with the New Orleans Saints, and that first year I kind of had a cup of coffee bouncing around the league. And I want to say it was May of 2015, I got cut from the Giants. They were minicamp. And at that time, Coach Mack said, "Hey, you know what? I heard you got cut. Come on, hang out on my staff." And I started off as an intern at Colorado. So as an intern, I was working in the recruiting office and, just trying to, help where I could as far as recruiting, being able to relate to a lot of those families and those kids. Having played at Colorado, I was being able to kind of sell the program, but I just always had niche. When they would be down there at practice, we weren't obligated to go to practice, but shoot, I'm going to practice. That's what I know. So I would go to practice. I would try to coach up the guys, the best that I could. And, I'm like, man, why not, get an opportunity to get on the grass and coach and try to help those guys. And, it was tough because there was no GA opportunities at the moment. So I didn't know if I was going to have that opportunity to kind of get on the field and start coaching. So, I was just, kind of reaching out and letting some of the contacts that I know understand that, hey, I want to GA, I want to coach. This is what I want to do, and kind of be that mentor, big brother to the players. And fortunately, something came open for me. I want to say that December, that January, and it's 2016. I was full speed ahead, man, as far as getting my coaching career going.
Yeah, and so basically, you end up as a GA. You walk in as an intern. You end up as a GA, and you said something interesting. Anybody that tries to tap into the profession, typically the first job is the absolute hardest one. Both that first GA or quality control, I don't know, whatever that entry level job is, and then typically that first full time job. Those are just really hard to kick those doors down. As Coach McIntyre obviously played for him, you did extremely well for him. You decorated as a player, had the opportunity to go bounce around the league just for a little bit. Easy call to say, hey, man, dude, come in here and help out with recruiting. It's going to be a home run to have you call, in contact with recruits as they're on campus. But, what was the conversation like when you walked in his office and said, hey, Coach, man, I see y'all down there on that field and I got to get on it. What was that like to go talk to him? And then you said you reached out to some other contacts. Who did you kind of look around to, in your brief, playing career to be able to reach out to?
Yeah, initially Coach Mack wanted me to GA, but just as far as, I think the timing and where his staff was already set, there were just, no opportunities for me, initially. So getting my foot in the doors in the recruiting office, I thought was great, honestly, instead of GAing my first year because, everybody say they want to coach, but they don't know really what the grind entails, what the hours entail. And being able to kind of see that from that recruiting office kind of helped, I think, prepare me for that GA role.
Yeah.
But, just some of the guys that I reached out to, it's one of the curses and the blessings, I think, of my playing career at Colorado. I played for, I think, three different head coaches, 4 position coaches, 3 defensive coordinators. I played for a lot of different guys there.
That's right.
But I was able to establish some connections with a lot of those guys. So, Ron Collins was a guy that I reached out to. He was at DC at Ohio. That was one of the first opportunities I had to go GA was to be with him and, Coach Mack when he knew, okay, hey, this is the next step for him. Again, it was kind of a no-brainer, but, I had a lot of coaches that I had played for at Colorado that I stayed in contact with. John Embry here at the end of me, Greg Brown, that kind of gave me a lot of advice as far as how to go about seeking out those opportunities and some of the things that I needed to focus on.
Yeah, you said something good there. You were talking about how getting that opportunity to intern, you were able to look and say, dang, these hours are crazy. You're right. I don't think most people know. And I think the most interesting thing is, as a player, man, I had no idea, and you had the opportunity to kind of be under McIntyre and then be on the staff. Did you recognize that as a player at all? I mean, did you realize that those dudes were there at 6 a.m., 4, 5, 6, 7 hours before y'all even showed up, and they're 6, 7, 8 hours after you guys left? Did you really know that as a player?
Not too much, always as a player, the guys that we see the most are the graduate assistants.
Yeah.
So, I remember, I remember all the GAs really that were there when I was a player and just, seeing the kind of work that those guys had to put in, on practice, getting things inputted. And, I kind of got a sense of as far as, okay, hey, look, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the organization of practice and into these games that we don't see.
Yeah.
But never did I see the sun up, sundown hours that they work, and the copious staff meetings and defensive meetings, and you never get to see that part. So being able to again kind of take a seat back that first year in the recruiting office and to kind of see all that, I think it helped prepare me again.
No doubt. Well, I always ask this question for anybody that has the opportunity to GA pretty quickly after they're done playing at their alma mater. I just think it's worth, always asking this question when this is the case is, how do you manage, putting on that professional hat around a bunch of guys that you were sitting on a plane joking around with and playing Madden and, going to parties and all that kind of stuff with that. Hey, this is our boy, but now all of a sudden you're trying to separate yourself into this coaching world. How did you approach that?
Yeah, I think at first it was tough, and not from the standpoint of, I think, being hard on them. A lot of those guys, they were freshmen when I was a senior or sophomores, and I was a 2-year captain.
Yeah.
So they looked up to me and they knew I didn't play when it came to the football. But again, at the same time, at the end of the day, those are my guys off the field, right? We would hang out, we would kick it. So, I remember, very vividly, just as far as, on the grass, it was good, but understanding, hey, that relationship off the field isn't the same kind of relationship that we had as players if I really want to truly, gain their respect as a coach. And I didn't understand that at first, And I remember Jim Levitt was our defensive coordinator at Colorado when I was GAing there. And I can't remember, but there was a meeting. And I was messing around with one of the players. And at the end of the meeting, he looks at me. He's like, hey, man, you could be really good at this. And anybody that knows Jim Levitt, he's got colorful language. Yeah. You got to understand, like, these guys, y'all ain't friends, right? If you want to be on this side, you got to find that fine line. And I think it clicked for me there, right? So at the time, early in the season, I still remember a guy that I came in with was still on the team, so we were kind of living together. And I was like, man, if I really want to make this thing work, I got to separate these two lives.
Yeah.
And I decided to live by myself going into my first year as a GA, and really trying to I didn't want to, I won't say sell out, but I wanted to still be myself, but at the same time understand, hey, look, in order for me to get the most and the best from you guys got to understand, hey, this isn't a player-to-player relationship anymore. Hey, this is player-to-coach. And I think when they saw that I was taking it serious, they decided to take it serious as well.
Man, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that because I just been in the profession for a while, especially sitting in this kind of seat. I've seen a lot of young guys, not even necessarily guys at their alma mater, but a lot of young guys in the profession kind of sink. It's opportunity to sink or swim at that point in time, and just sink because they can't adapt to the level of professionalism that it takes to when you're going from 23 to 24, and you're going from senior year football player to first year coach, and these guys look like you, listen to the same music, probably playing the same video games, and it's like there's a line that you got to put down if you really like Coach Levis said, like if you really want to be good at this, you got to go ahead and put that line down early on. So that's awesome that you were able to kind of experience that and really get some great advice from a legendary coach there. And then I want to ask this question as well. I know as a GA sometimes the input, especially early on in your career, if you're a GA first year, like you're not really saying much in staff meetings or, contributing too much verbally. Obviously, everything that goes on, you got your stamp on, whether it's drawing cards or breaking out film. You got your stamp on a bunch of stuff, but verbally you're not talking much. But how do you kind of have the confidence, as a young guy to mention, hey man, on third down and 2 and 3, I saw this. You guys were just my coaches, and I'm so used to listening to y'all, but I want to have a voice in this thing. Was that something you battled with, or is that not something that you really ever had to really worry about?
I don't think it was something that I battled with, but I definitely think it was something that, you got to understand, right? Time and place, and then, your audience, transitioning from Levitt to DJ Elliott, I thought DJ was instrumental in my career because, DJ was a guy that had a lot of experience. Obviously, he was coming from Kentucky in the SEC where he coached, was coordinated defense. So, he had a lot of experience, but at the same time, DJ was a guy that, hey, he loved to hear ideas or thoughts. So, there was a culture, I think, in our defensive staff room of, obviously you better know what you're talking about and you better have done your research. But shoot, if there's something that you can bring to the table, it didn't matter if you were GA, secondary coach, D-line coach, shoot, hey, let's hear it. Let's see if it fits within what we do. Yeah. And let's go on from there. So, I think I definitely learned my voice during my second and third year as a graduate assistant, just as far as, picking and choosing, hey, when I could input some things that I felt would be beneficiary to us as a staff and a team. And then also understanding, hey, look, this is in my lane, right? This is in my call. Obviously these guys at the end of the day, hey, they're responsible and I want to be an asset and not a liability. So, learning that fine line and trying to truly know when and where, as far as speaking and talking goes.
Yeah, that's good advice there, Coach. Now, one of the things that I always like to hit on is whenever I'm talking to a divisional coach, we talk a little bit about like the opportunity. I was a GA at Texas A&M Commerce, and I was the receivers coach. And I also got in a car at a very young age. And I went and recruited, and I also broke down film. And I also did all the stuff that you did as a GA, but also some of the stuff that the full-time guys did. Now, I always embraced the lower level GA deal because you do get to put your hands on a lot. Obviously, as a GA at Colorado, you weren't picking up the phone and calling guys majority of the time. I leaving that to position coach. You weren't getting on the road recruiting, but you did have a recruiting intern opportunity. So I just want to say before we kind of leave your Colorado experience, how important when you look at it, especially when you start looking at that first job, was it to be able to have some actual live experience kind of as a recruiting intern to be in that world. Otherwise, like I said, the GA doesn't tap into too much other than having the guys on campus. So how important was that?
Man, it was huge. I think it was instrumental, honestly. As a recruiting intern, I was responsible for Gary Bernardi, our O-line coach, and Corey Walters, Aaron Cheverini, our receivers coaches, as far as getting them organized, as far as kind of mapping out their days on the road, organizing and structuring those things, contact lists, all those different type of things, and as far as, recruiting areas. So, I think it was instrumental because it helped me understand and learn the organization that it takes to, when you're going on spring recruiting, being efficient with your time on the road, right? Yeah. Making sure that, hey, before I go into a school, I know the guys that I'm here to see, who they have in that school. Yeah. And I know once I finish up here, I know what that drive is going to be to that next location. Kind of making sure that I'm mapping out my days and being organized that way. But also as far as, writing recruiting letters, text threads, just being tedious and meticulous at those things, those are still tools and tricks that I learned then that I still try to apply to recruiting today. So, I think it was instrumental as far as just really learning that side of college coaching.
No doubt. Well, in 2018 summer, you took advantage of the opportunity to take part in the Bill Walsh Minority Internship or Fellowship, I believe is what it's called now, Fellowship with the San Francisco 49ers. And so I'm going to ask you kind of a two-part question here. Number one, why was it important that you sought out that type of opportunity? And then number two, what are a few things, just if you were giving advice to a coach saying, hey, man, this is why you need to go do that. What were some things that you took away from that deal that you think, coaches should take advantage of?
Yeah, obviously always the opportunity to learn is something that's huge for me, being able to learn and soak up information wherever you are. So for first and foremost, I thought that opportunity was awesome for me to just kind of learn a little bit more of that game. But also, just relationships, I was able to get that opportunity because John Embry was my head coach my sophomore, my junior year at Colorado. And we had stayed in touch, when I got into the coaching profession, and he was the one that kind of got that opportunity for me rolling. So being able to build relationships at that level, I still remember the guys that I interned with and communicate with still to this day. Van Malone, James Willis, man, a lot of those guys that I met there, we were able to form some good relationships that we still stay in contact to this day. So those kind of things. And then, obviously, the NFL is another game. It's another avenue that coaches, you want to make sure that you cast a wide net because it's tough getting jobs, right? Mm-hmm. So the more relationships, I think, the better off you are. And being able to kind of shake hands and bump elbows with some guys at that level and stay in touch with them was something to me that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, no doubt. And I forgot to ask this question here earlier. So before we leave the Colorado journey, I do want to ask this. The people that listen to this, I'm sorry because you'll hear the same story every time, but, Coach hadn't heard this yet. But I just remember being a player and, I was able to actually earn some starting time and some playing time, not necessarily because I was the fastest, quickest, strongest, or anything like that. It was because I wasn't going to go out there and mess up, and I kind of was a high IQ football player, understood the game. I knew I was a running back, knew where a blitz was going to come from, knew what I was supposed to do, all that kind of stuff, right? And man, you couldn't tell me anything from an IQ standpoint. I was the smartest guy ever, you know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden I got in a profession almost arrogantly thinking I knew so much about the game, and then you realize I didn't know anything about it, like anything. You know what I'm saying? Did you experience that in your first couple of years, especially being a high caliber player like yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I remember, to this day, 2017, I think, Jim Jeffcoat, our D-line coach, I think he moved on. And I'm like, oh, shoot, man, I played the position. I should be the D-line coach. I can do it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting through a couple of D-line coach interviews and John Scott, Quan Drake, and I'm like, oh, this is what it takes, right? It's one thing to physically be able to do it, but if you can't verbalize and get information across to young 18, 19, 20-year-olds, shoot, you ain't gonna get the job done.
Right.
So I think that's when I really started to kind of hone in on my craft as far as, hey, what am I teaching? What are the techniques? What are the steps? What are the hand plays? Really diving into that. And yeah, man, just because you played it don't mean you know it like you think you do.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, you say you thought you were ready, but honestly, pretty quickly you had to be ready because you get a job in 2019 as a full-time outside linebackers coach there at the University of Kansas. And I do want to talk about this a little bit. I think I've done this 300 some episodes of this podcast. I can probably count on one hand the amount of people that their first full-time gig, 2-3 years out of playing, 2 or 3 years into the profession, been a P5 job. It's slim to none, man. It's not very many that have that opportunity. That's a big task. Anytime you get your own room, I think that's a big growth period for any coach where, all the eyes go to you when it comes to your position. How do you think you were able to leverage, having a very brief career, probably still great, I'm sure. And I'm sure you did a tremendous job to even be able to room the interview. How do you think you were able to get that job at such a young football coaching age?
Yeah. So, actually 2019 when I got to Kansas, it was initially as the defensive quality control with DJ Elliott, and we had just got we just got fired at Colorado. Mel Tucker came in. I decided to go with DJ to Kansas. So that first year, I was a quality control, and I think DJ was confident even in 2019. Like, hey, look, if I need this guy to run a room, hey, he can do it. He's been in my system. But at the time, Les Miles didn't know me. Those defensive guys on staff outside of Quan Drake didn't know me, so it was going to be hard for DJ, I think, to justify that.
Yeah.
So being in that QC role was, I think, good for me because, hey, I was able to help and teach some of the coaches on staff, certain calls, certain techniques that DJ was looking for, right? But then at that same time, I was able to kind of do that kind of stuff in front of Coach Miles and show, hey, this guy can recruit from an off-the-field role as well.
Yeah.
And I think I was able to earn the respect of those guys quickly. It's not a lot of people know, but after that first season, 2019, off the field, I took the D-line job at UC Davis.
Oh, wow.
And I was fired up for it. I was going to UC Davis to coach D-line. This was my first opportunity to be on the field. I'm like, man, let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So I signed the contract and everything. And I want to say about 24 hours after I signed that contract, tow truck is supposed to be outside my house to come take my car and go to Davis, California. I get a call from Coach Miles. Coach was like, hey, you still in Lawrence? And I'm like, yeah, Coach, I'm getting ready to leave. And Coach is like, all right, well, hey, come to the office real quick. I go to the office. Basically, hey, one of our coaches is leaving. We want you to take the outside linebackers. DJ is going to move to inside backers. He wants you to take the outside linebackers job. So I can say it was truly a blessing. It was God, because, like you said, not a lot of people get that opportunity for, hey, my first full-time gig is Power 5 outside linebacker coach.
Yeah.
And, with God, luck, man, I was able to navigate that opportunity. But I think it all started with, hey, I handled business as an off-the-field quality control. I was professional in the building. I showed that, hey, I can recruit. And then obviously having the defensive background and that defense, it helped me out for sure.
And so when that phone call came, you had no inkling that the guy was leaving? You had no nothing?
Man, I'm talking it out the blue, like no clue. It's funny, and the guys that I worked with at Kansas, we still talk about it to this day. But literally, like the night before, hey, we're going out in Lawrence celebrating. Hey, this guy, he's got his first job. He's going to Davis, the D line. Like I'm celebrating. Like, man, I'm out of here. I'm gone. And then in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Man, it was nuts.
And that's so crazy in a nutshell. And honestly, in both directions, that's just so much about kind of how the profession can work. And honestly, we're going to get into another story here later about how similarly, I guess it wasn't similar, but just how this profession can just be so crazy. But a tough conversation I'm sure that you had to have, obviously tons of celebration. You had to go unbox a bunch of stuff and cancel the tow truck, but you also had to make another call, right? You had to call UC Davis.
Absolutely.
What is that like? How did you approach that?
It was tough. So Dan Hawkins was the head coach at UC Davis, and Dan was he recruited me to Colorado. He's who I signed to go play at Colorado. Okay. Played for Dan my first year at Colorado. So calling Dan and letting him know, because again, he was the guy that gave me my shot in college football. Colorado was my only scholarship offer. So to tell him, hey, coach, man, look. I want to be there. Look, I signed everything. Like this was, but man, I'm telling you, the last 24 hours, this is what transpired. I'm sure he was upset, but I'm sure at the same time he understood. Like, hey, look, man, this opportunity you can't pass on.
Right.
And definitely thankful for that opportunity in that moment.
Okay, yeah, man, that's obviously a great part of the business to be able to get that type of phone call from the head ball coach to come in the office and have a seat. But obviously it's just a business part of it too, where you trying to maintain relationships and make great decisions, and people that take care of you want to take care of them and all that good stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now let's I'm gonna call a timeout on the football stuff. Where are you at in life from a relationship standpoint? Are you married, dating? You got kids yet? I know you got
Yes,
two little
sir.
ones at the moment, but where are you at in life from a relationship?
Yes, sir. Married with my wife Hannah. Married for 3 years. I've known each other now for about 7 years, and we have twin girls, Amara and Amani. They're 6 months, about to be 7 months next week. So man, it's been this past year has been awesome, man. They were born 3 days before we played Ohio State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, and man, it's been a true blessing, man. Fatherhood.
Yeah.
You hear people talk about it, and I never really, it never really wrapped my mind until we finally have kids, and then 2 girls off the rip.
Yeah.
Man, they got me wrapped around their fingers, man.
Absolutely.
So it's been.
Well, I need to go back and watch that Peach Bowl and see if you're looking like a zombie out there. I know you probably on fumes at that point, huh?
Running on fumes, man. I'm telling you, on fumes. But thank goodness that game was in Atlanta.
Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned you've been married for 3 years with Hannah, and so
yes, sir.
as far as some of this decision making, is she in the picture at this point in time? Or y'all at least dating? Or y'all dating when all of a sudden UC Davis is calling and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we were dating when UC Davis was calling, and when I was at Kansas, and that was we got engaged 2020. No, we got married 2020. We were engaged 2019.
Okay.
So we were engaged, and she was always a factor in those decisions.
Absolutely.
Because at the time, 2019, when I first got to Kansas, she was still living in Colorado.
Okay.
So we were doing long distance for her, and that plan was, okay, hey, wherever that first full-time opportunity was, hey, we were gonna, she was gonna, move her life, and we were gonna get started together. So yeah, she was definitely in the loop during all that.
Good. And the reason I kind of tap into that is because me and you both said it, as players, you didn't really recognize, number one, the hours. And I think even after the hours, and maybe you have a different perspective than I have, because you said you had 2-3 different head coaches. So I'm sure you saw guys come and go and end up all over the country. So you might have had a little bit more understanding about how the profession at that level works. But man, we played football, and it's still some surprises that come. How did you approach being like, hey, honey, this is what I want to do, and it could be Georgia tomorrow, it could be UC Davis the next day, it could be Kansas next year.
Yeah.
How did you kind of approach the profession with somebody that's not around it?
Correct. That was something that I know we discussed even before we got engaged. Like, hey, look, this is what this looks like. And it was I think she got at least a taste of it while we were dating, because she knew that, hey, this dude's leaving the house 5 a.m. Hey, he ain't coming back till 11 at night. This is what his work schedule in life looks like. And she understood that, and I think she really understood that first year, 2018, after we got let go at Colorado. Like, hey, when this is what it looks like. Now it's okay. Hey, what's next? And shoot, he's moving to Kansas now.
Yeah.
Oh, and, I think being able for her to see that early on, I think it's kind of set the foundation, at least in her mind, as far as, okay, hey, here's some of the lows that can happen. All right, obviously. And here's some of the things that come with it. But I think when you have the right one who's in it for the right reason, and they're going to be ride or die. That's one thing she is for sure.
Absolutely, man. All right, well, so let's dive back into it. You get your room for the first time, and it's like no interview, no nothing. I mean, obviously, the crazy thing about this business, you had been interviewing for a full year, right? For that job. So I guess they technically want a formal interview, but it was sudden, man. You got a room just like that on a phone call. How was that first season? And obviously, the energy of having your room for the first time, regardless of the record of the team, man. That's so awesome. What were some of the challenges that you faced first year, full time, your own room?
Yeah, so it was 2020, so obviously we all know it was COVID. Yep. So it was interesting because, we didn't have a spring ball. Obviously, everything was Zoom. So it was not a traditional year like we've had, like we've had.
Yeah.
So, I think some of the things that were tough, obviously, were not being able to kind of really get hands-on with the players.
Yeah.
I have relationships already with the players, obviously, because I was there for the past year, which helped. So, they knew me, they respected me, they looked at me like, okay, hey, coach, mentor figure.
Yeah.
So I think that relationship was already established, right? But just from a football standpoint, being able to kind of coach them up on a day-to-day, but then also, life lessons, being able to kind of really pour into them was tough just because, hey, they can't come in my office like traditionally they could.
Yeah.
So that was one of the tough things in year one. And then, that first year at Kansas was a rough year for us. I think we went 0-9 in the COVID year.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to be on every day for those guys, regardless of outcome, regardless of result, hey, here's the standard and the expectation that is required. So I don't care what transpired this past Saturday. Hey, we're going to learn from it. We're going to grow from it. But this is how we got to come to work every single day. And as a coach, you can't have a bad day, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Every day you got to be on. So being able to have that energy and understand, like, hey, look, these guys, after a loss especially, are going to look to me as far as what they do next. Right? If I don't handle it right, they ain't going to handle it right.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of callous my mind and almost numb out, so that way, hey, I can be there to provide from them on an emotional standpoint as a coach every single day, were definitely things that I learned that first year.
Yeah, man, that's kind of crazy, especially knowing where you end up in 22. Just how unpredictable this thing can be. I kind of mentioned this my last year before I took this role here at the AFCA. I was at Davidson College, FCS non-scholarship program, and man, we were 1-10 or 2-9, something like that. And it was the 2 wins were earlier in the season, so it was almost kind of like the 9-0 deal. I think we lost maybe 9 straight. And man, it was so challenging for me. I'm talking about just for me personally to show up every single day. Not for me. I love my job, you know what I'm saying? But it was challenging for me to kind of keep that positive energy with the guys, especially special teams coordinators. 57, they just scored a touchdown. You trying to get your kickoff return team hyped up, and you got to, because the minute they see me let down, and I just look back on that season, it was special, man, because I felt like I learned a lot. Do you think maybe having some of those challenges, like obviously in the moment, especially for the first gig, that probably wasn't ideal, but do you think that helps shape you as a coach in regards to you got to take the good with the bad in this thing?
Absolutely, and not letting circumstances dictate your actions. I think many times, again, especially in this profession, I think if you ride the roller coaster of the highs and lows of the football season, you're gonna burn yourself out.
Absolutely.
Because not always are things gonna be as good as they are, and they're not always gonna be as bad.
Yeah. So
just trying to find, hey, what is that middle ground that I operate on that keeps me consistent?
Yeah.
And then, at the same time, understand, hey, the blessing in everything. Again, although we went 0-9, hey, that was my first opportunity to get on the field and coach. I wouldn't change that for the world. Yeah. That's at the end of the day, that's where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, and the relationships with the kids. Man, that's what really drove me every single day. Like being able to pour in and give into them and see them smile, man. Like that at the end of the day, that's what kept me going and keeps me motivated.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Well, let's kind of hop to the next position, because this thing gets really interesting for the next 3 stops. You get an opportunity with Coach Sonny Dykes there at SMU. Once again, just now you're not in this building. So how did you get this job? What was the context? How did everything go down?
Yeah, so Jim Leverett was hired as his defensive coordinator, and obviously Jim and I had worked together 15 and 16 at Colorado. But I didn't know how it was going to happen, because all I remember in my mind was our last encounter was, hey man, you got to take this thing serious if you want to be really good at it.
Yeah.
And now it's okay. Hey, trying to be this guy's D-line coach. I got to prove to him that, hey, and I'm sure before he hired me, he was of that mindset that, hey, has this guy taken those steps to be a ball coach, and really that was my first real in-person interview that I ever took was with him at SMU. So I think obviously being able to go in there and understanding that, hey, this guy can speak the same language that I'm speaking, obviously being in the same defensive system that I've been in, and understanding the things that I want from a defensive front, I think ultimately helped. But I think also as well, there were some ties that I had with Coach Dykes' staff, and I think some of the reports that he got on me were some of the things that ultimately allowed him to pull the trigger, and definitely was blessed and thankful for that opportunity as well.
Yeah, so you've been a P5 guy, you know what I'm saying, already at this point in time, and you're walking to an interview, and this is your first time doing it. And I think anybody that's been in the deal long enough can kind of remember their first interview, and I'm sure you, like myself, I look back on it and be like, golly, I can't believe I walked in there like that or did that. Did you have any of those moments? And, just some advice for any young guys that are going to take their first interview, if you had any.
Not, luckily I didn't have any of those moments, but, I think what I think of and that I take with me always on all of these interviews was, as an intern and as a GA, I tried to, regardless of position, whenever there was an opening on our staff, I wanted to sit in on the interview, right? I wanted to see, okay, hey, how's this guy coaching? What are some of the questions being asked? How is he presenting himself? What does he have to present? What are those things that he's doing to help get himself ready for an interview? Yeah. So always did things like that. At Colorado, when I was graduate assistant coaches were on the road, a group of us would give ourselves mock interviews. We'd sit up there, make our presentations, present in front of each other, write notes as far as what we needed to work on and whatnot to help prepare ourselves for that step and that level. Yeah. And then, I don't know if it's, I don't know. I hope it's not viewed poorly, but, also at the AFCA conventions, sometimes I would take D2, D3 interviews in hotel rooms. And I would do it I try to use them as tools to prepare myself. Because again, in my mind, I'm like, man, I've never been on an interview and I don't know almost the protocol man, I want to get myself in as many of those situations that I can to help prepare myself for, okay, hey, I'm at an SMU and I'm interviewing for it. Hey, here's the conduct that I need to approach with, and here are some of the things that I need to do to really do a good job as far as that goes.
Yeah, and so you basically manufactured interviews, whether with your GAs or sitting in and saying, okay, I'm not just watching the interviewee, I'm also very cognizant of what my head coach is asking, what the coordinators are asking them, so I can just kind of put this in my memory bank. So, I've never been asked a question, but I've heard it been asked, so I'm prepared to answer it type deal. Yeah, that's a fantastic approach. Now, you guys, you get the job. I'm assuming you do a tremendous job. I know you have some all-conference players, and you guys do some tremendous stuff there at the defensive line position. Go 8-4. Anytime you can win, and we talk about leaving and getting fired. Like you had the experience at Colorado, and sometimes you leave and it's on your own accord. And so you guys got to leave that staff on your own accord. Sonny Dykes gets his job at TCU. What was that time period like? Because I think everybody sees it and they're like, oh, Sonny Dykes got the job, but a lot of people don't really realize that there's 9 guys on the staff and a bunch of people, 9 full-time guys, and there's a bunch of GAs and analysts and all this kind of stuff in the background. And are like, man, is he gonna call me? Am I going? Am I staying? Am I now unemployed? What was that time frame like for you?
Yeah, definitely. It was obviously when you're successful on a successful staff like that, a lot of those rumors and things circulate, and it was things that obviously I think coaches heard, obviously, and players, but you try to tune out that stuff as much as possible. Yeah. I never tried to have a conversation if it was going to happen or not. I just knew, hey, look, handle what I need to handle. Prepare these guys as best as I can, win the game, and everything else would take care of itself. So, and I think it was lucky and thankful that I got that opportunity to go with Coach Dykes, man. But, obviously those things are tough, especially for the head coaches. They got decisions that they have to make. Right. Obviously they're trying to make decisions that are going to help, that program that they're going to, and obviously, the families that they're responsible for. So definitely tough a tough time, as far as that goes, but, an exciting time at the same time.
Yeah. Well, let me paint this picture because, like I said, when I was doing my homework, I didn't really – it just didn't register when you go and look at your resume or your bio or whatnot that you had this brief stop in TCU. So in 2022, the national championship game was obviously Georgia TCU, but you were wearing purple in 22 to start the year off, and you were wearing black and red to finish the year and hoist the trophy. So that's a super unique deal, right? Obviously, you're sitting in the national championship game. You look across and you know many of those guys. You work with a lot of those guys at SMU and briefly there at TCU. Obviously, you make the trip over to Fort Worth. You spend a little over a month there. Then you have to have this tough conversation. So just real fast, let's talk about getting the job at Georgia, and then how you kind of approach it with like, hey, Coach Dykes, look, this is what's up, this is what's going on. How you approach that.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy because I didn't know anybody at Georgia at the time. Had no connections really to the staff. Didn't know Coach Smart, Coach Schumann, Coach Muschamp. It was really some. Every time someone asked, I'm like, man, it truly. God, man, it was a blessing because, I get a phone call one day. It leads to a phone call with Coach Schumann, and we're just talking and shooting the breeze. And a phone call turns into a Zoom turns into the interview, and boom, next thing you know, I happen to be in Athens, Georgia. But I think it's a testament to Sonny because, obviously when I brought it up to Sonny was like, man, dude, hey, you got to go do that. I think Sonny understood, like, as far as, what I was looking to do in the profession on the defensive side of the ball, and obviously the standard and the resume of a Coach Smart, a Coach Glenn Schumann, a Coach Will Muschamp. I think he understood, hey, man, for your development and your growth, man, shoot, you got to go and explore that opportunity. Yeah. Now, obviously, I don't want you to leave, but, man, I'd be foolish holding you back and not let you at least go take a look at that. And, he was instrumental because, obviously, him, just kind of giving that stamp of approval and being positive about it, man, it allowed me, I think, to come into that interview and come into the situation with a clear conscience and clear intentions.
Yeah, man. And so obviously, everything he says is comes to fruition, right? I mean, what a tremendous opportunity. Guys got one of the best defenses, not just in the country, but just, you start talking about all-time defenses. This is one of them. And you're part of that, right? Obviously, when you're playing a game of that caliber and talking about the national championship, I mean, I don't think this was anything any more or less important to anybody. But how, I guess, special is the word I'll use. How special is it to kind of, just look back on that year and be like, man, I owe that dude across the sideline a lot, man. The opportunity to go and interview, get the job at SMU. The respect he had for me to bring me over to TCU, and then, for me first to part ways and then just be right here on this national stage. How special was that? And did you get to share any type of moments, with him, post game, pre game, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely special. It's like everybody knows, man. This game is hard. Yeah. Week in and week out, coaching is hard, man, and very seldomly do you get the opportunity to kind of know how both sides are running their respective organizations. So I think it was special because knowing how Coach Dykes does his thing over there and how we do our thing over here, man, it's awesome to see, hey, being able to kind of, hey, look at both places and know, hey, these guys are doing things the right way and it's gotten them to this point. It's awesome to see that. And obviously knowing a lot of those guys over there makes it special too because, man, shoot, what better than to compete against some of the guys that you look up to and you respect so well in this profession, like as far as TCU goes. So it was definitely an awesome moment. It was great. But in pregame warmups, I'm warming up my guys and I get a tap on my hip. And I'm like, man, who tapping me? And I turn around and it's Sonny. Yeah. And Sonny, wants to say what's up before the game, and that can't speak highly enough about Sonny Dykes, man. Again, said before, I wouldn't be here if it was not for him. And a guy like that is no surprise that they are having the type of success that they're having down there in Fort Worth.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, as we get ready for a close here, man, you kind of said it, winning and competing, doing it at this level is hard. I learned that lesson my first year in coaching. We won an ugly game, and it was a game we should have blew a team out. And my OC wrapped his arm around me and said, "You got to enjoy every last one of those W's you get, man. They're hard to come by. It doesn't matter who you're playing. When you find one, enjoy it." And that really doesn't have anything to do with my question I'm about to ask you here, but I just do appreciate how hard it is to do. But you kind of got a firsthand look at, it's the old saying, it's different ways to skin a cat, right? And I'm sure, as both you guys march your way to this national championship game, those guys in Fort Worth just did it in a much different fashion than you guys did it over in Athens. In the long run, at some point in time, man, we're going to be doing this podcast, and you're going to be in the big chair. What kind of takeaways can you take from like just seeing the different type of atmospheres that still breed success? Are you following my question here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, obviously, like you said, both sides, both places, everywhere, they do things differently. But I think at the core of everything, I think there's the same fundamental, right? I think, competitive excellence at TCU and here was the same, fundamentals that I saw.
Right.
Every day here in Georgia, you got to be willing to compete in everything that you do.
Right.
And I know that's Sonny's same mentality as far as, hey, competing in what we do in the weight room and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously you build from that and, whatever foundations and things of that nature that you wish to instill in your program. But, I think at the end of the day, man, it starts from top to bottom. And I think, here, I think what makes us so successful is we have such a competitive guy and he wants to compete at everything. And I think if you build from that, man, I think, you're building in the right direction.
Absolutely. Coach, man, I tell you what, man, I really enjoy sitting down here and talking with you. I appreciate you taking the time. I know 45 minutes for a ball coach is tough to find. So spending it with us here at the AFCA and pouring into anybody that's listening, man, it means a lot. So I appreciate you, Coach. If you don't mind, I don't know how much you do the Twitter thing, but if you don't mind sharing your Twitter account, so coaches can just keep up with your journey along the way. Yeah,
absolutely. It's at Coach Diribe 96 on Twitter. Same as on Instagram as well, man. And I want to thank you, Mario, and the AFCA. As an intern, as a GA, man, I listen to these Inside the Headset podcasts still to this day when I'm on the road. I got time and being able to pick gems from a lot of the different guys that you've interviewed and what you do, man. So definitely appreciate this opportunity right here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And there's going to be a lot of people that's going to take gems from this one. That's for dang sure. So I appreciate you, Coach. Have a good one, man. Best of luck, and I'll see you in Nashville. And maybe not. We'll see, okay? Because I was hoping I'd see you this past year, but I didn't get to see it. Hopefully I don't see you, but I hope I do, okay? All right, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yeah, later.
CoachComm has been delivering tough headsets for tough teams for more than 31 years. It's why 97% of FBS teams and thousands of high schools across the country rely on CoachComm. Get the best for your team. Visit CoachComm.com for more info.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset, presented by CoachComm. If you'd like to learn more about this week's episode, head over to AFCA.com. There, you can access every episode and find corresponding show notes. Remember, you can catch every episode of Inside the Headset presented by CoachComm on wherever you get your podcast, including Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, we'd love for you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. Keep up with the latest news by following us on social media. Connect with us at Inside the Headset, and remember to tag us when you share your favorite episodes. For more updates on all things AFCA, be sure to follow the @WeAreAFCA social media accounts. If you're not a part of the AFCA community yet, visit AFCA.com to join thousands of NFL, college, and high school coaches nationwide and across the globe. Elevate your coaching game with an AFCA membership. You'll gain exclusive access to the annual AFCA convention, magazine, digital library, and AFCA Insider email. Stay up to date with the latest stories and news on the AFCA website. More than just a convention, the AFCA offers continuous education, guidance, networking, and more. Celebrate the past and shape the future with the AFCA. It's about fostering exceptional coaches who create outstanding teams and even better individuals. Invest in your skills and make a lasting impact today by engaging with the AFCA. Your journey starts here.